Thank you, Kevin, and thank you all for having me over here. It's a pleasure to be over here. Basically, first ice hockey related travel for me in UK now. So thanks for having and it has been already good to again today hear more about different topics by other speakers. Let's see if we get our computer working over there. Nothing happens. But anyway, next presentation would be a bit of insight about Finnish player pathway and that development model, what's applicable over there. As Kevin mentioned, I've been working now 4 years with IHF, so I don't work currently with the Finnish Ice Hockey Association, but I was working for 13 years. Finnish Federation just actually they updated the one, and it was just released last September. So most of the presentations are coming from there, but that's pretty much similar principles are coming that we have already mentioned a bit of in the morning and things that we are working there earlier too. But again, as Kevin said, that now currently working with IHF as a development manager for Europe and Africa, and besides that, I have also some global responsibilities as a coach development and coach education from IHF side. Before that, I was 3 years working with the International Federation as a development director, so basically overseeing the whole development initiatives for the whole globally for all the countries.
All right, you're gonna have to yell at me.
Okay, I need to have a clicker here. Done. But 13 years with FIHA as a youth hockey manager, so overseeing all our youth programs, and before that I was working as a regional coach for Finnish Federation, 2 different regions. And then on those responsibilities I had it with the club development, coach and player development over there. So 13 years with Finnish Federation, so provided me a bit of insight too. And let's see, and now we are able to go rocking on this presentation, so a bit of my background, and not fully functioning, but basically now it's an empty slide.
Tech support is having some.
Yeah, so there actually was a bit of insight over here, the comparison between UK and Finland, and of course the Finland with the hockey numbers it's bigger. But again, knowing that the sport of ice hockey is not number-wise, it's not the biggest in Finland. So you have a football, you have a floorball pretty much the same way, and the women's side, the girls' side is the gymnastic. So hockey is not the biggest, but maybe it's the most popular one. So you get a lot of kids to try, a lot of kids to stay, but of course, as Peter was showing today, the Czech Federation has to do a lot of work for getting the kids involved with the game. So the same thing involves also in Finland. So you have to think about different ways to do it. So in the regional wise, you have 8 different regions where you always have a regional manager over there who kind of like oversees the regional leagues, some other policies, and that team has been divided that half of the crew is going through with the recruitment with the club, and half of the team think about the club development. So it really depends on their competence. Besides that, you also have regional coaches who are working now with the sports side of the club development, player and coach development. So you have those 16 people overseeing the whole Finland in a regional level. Of course, the national office in Helsinki, and then you have national team program and those people over there. But regional level, somewhere close by the clubs, you always have a person to connect or contact. So every club has been based in a way that there has always, if the club is X, they know exactly who's the manager or the coach of the region who is able to help them out. And all the planning for the season actually is done together with the clubs. What do we want to achieve next year? How do we run the education in the region? And what kind of different events or activities we organize. So it's done together, not just determined by FIHA that, hey, this is the only way that we are going to do it. Instead of that, we just work together. Okay, and then there was a small illustration, but it's gone too. But basically, we have three core goals over there for the player pathway. So number one goal would be individual development, so understanding or knowing that every individual develops different way, different times. So then again, all the focus should be that, hey, how do we help that individual to be better? Hockey for life, so basically again, getting more people to get involved with the sport, and then think about the ways how do you keep them stay in the sport in different position. You know, you might finish your player career. What are the other opportunities to be a coach, be a team manager, be a team leader, equipment manager, working in the club, or just keep on playing with the recreational level. So that's kind of like playing for all that. And how do we stay people involved with the game? Because you never know what's going to happen in the future, what the different roles are. So making sure that everybody has a chance to be part of this wonderful game. And of course, then the success would be the third goal. And of course, you can measure success a different way. Winning the gold medal in the World Championships, getting medals in Olympic Games, getting drafted in NHL or PWHL, or some other ways. Success in your development career, you are getting better as an individual, as a player. The club is getting more players. So different kind of success factors over there. And having a big idea of that we are not the factors, so the clubs are not the factors, we are dealing with human beings, so then again, we shouldn't think about us as machines. Okay, let's check it out, what's going to happen. Let's see. Let's see if something happens. Okay, now we got it. So, and then again, as a player identity, even though we're saying that players are not the machines, we are not the factors, but there's some goals for the individual development. So we want that when we are working with the players, they have ability to play the game. Not saying that they have to play the same type of game, they have ability to play the game. So they understand, they're able to react, they're able to read, they got the puck, they know what to do. You're playing defense against the puck, non-puck carrier, you know what should be the basic principle. So not certain tactical element that, hey, we play 1-2-2 or something like that. It's about actually that you're able to create the play. You are a holistic, versatile athlete, so you're not just a good hockey player, but actually you're a good athlete over there. So therefore, multi-sport skills are playing a lot of role in the player pathway. Players should be development oriented, so then again that you want to be better. Kaizen was mentioned also in the morning, so you want to be better. You are not just satisfied where you are at the moment. So how do I make myself as a better human being, better athlete or better hockey player, and not just always just waiting when the coach tells you to do something. You're a good team player, and then what Finland players are already known for is that they have a good grit, so we call it a sisu. That's a Finnish term, so they don't give up, so you just keep on going and you play for the team. So that would be the identity of the player in the player pathway, and then if you see a Finnish player, then you're able to mark down whether these checkpoints you're able to see those. I think if you were watching last World Championships, I don't know how much it was televised over here, but I think on that team you were able to check a lot of boxes on those players. High quality every day, that's what makes the difference. So how do we run our everyday activities? How do we run the practice sessions? So that's really plays a difference. So not one tournament, but actually what happens in that barn on Monday night. So how the appropriate settings, so operational environment, how the environment has been built, how the social dynamic works, and then how do we engage our people when we are running practices or running our activities. So appropriate settings, what we are evaluating over there, how are the coaching skills, so how the coaches are doing the work, what they coach and how they coach. Is there objective of the drill or is there objective of the practice in place? So what is the goal, what we want to achieve today? And then is there enough enough play in the practice? So it's not just about having a lane drills where you're just skating and somebody's showing how to skate. It's about how much there's a element of play. Because again, if the players aren't playing the game, whether it's off ice or on ice, it's really hard to have the ability to play the game. You might get something out of videos, but then most of our athletes, they need to try and they need to put in the situation that they have to read the game and make some decisions. How the cooperation works towards different stakeholders. You have a coach, you have a parent, you have a team members, you might have later on scouts, teachers. So how the cooperation works in a holistical way, so not everybody pulling the player in different direction. So basically maybe people don't agree the same thing, but at least there's a common understanding of what would be the good place for the athlete. So then when the athlete is getting the feedback, that could be some similar way, because then at least years ago we had a lot of athletes that they had some issues in the backpack and they didn't like to hear what they were hearing, they changed the club. So again, therefore it's really important that players are getting similar messages from people who are supporting their development. And then of course all the clubs has to have documented the plan, what we should do when they're 10, what they should do when they're 12, 14 and 16. So then it's easier for the coaches to know, okay, what we are coaching and how we are coaching in the club. So there's some sort of pathway documented over here. FIHA is building you a frame and you might then circulate over there, but then again every club should have their own identity and have a plan what to do over there. And in these plans, it's not saying that let's win the regional cup when we're under 8 or under 11 or under 12. It's about what are the elements that you should focus as a coach in this season, so to make sure that if they're 11, they are preparing to be 12. With the social dynamics, okay, psychological safety of the athletes plays a big role. So again, whenever there's a practice, there's a game, there's a team event, so everybody are able to feel confident and there's a caring environment in place. So everybody can be themselves, no need to be somebody else than you are. So the open interaction plays a role. So again, you should be able to ask questions, not to be afraid of saying something and you might get punishment. So that would be again good team concept that you're able to discuss in different topics. And then what is also important for if we want to have self-driven athletes, the athletes are able to take some ownership of their own development. So they're able to influence some actions, some decisions need to be made. Maybe for those little under 9s, under 8s, it's a bit more simple. What do we do? What is the last game? What is a smaller game? What could be the rule? And then further action. Okay, let's think about what is the quality that you want to develop in the morning practice session. And even though the coach might disagree, let the also players make decisions because maybe he or she knows better what is the current situation for her, whether you want to work with your strength or you want to work with your weaknesses. So again, as every individual is different, you have to have your ownership of your own life, own development. So not always just telling what the coach is telling you to do it. And again, different participation or diverse participation. So again, that you are able to do different sports. You are able to have different kind of pathways, so you can participate sport later. You might do it once a week or five times a week. You have a chances to do different sport-related activities, so promoting being a holistic athlete, so again, being a better athlete, or do other not sport-related hobbies. Playing violin, playing piano might be really good for your learning, and again, developing yourself as a human being. So that's in the pathway. It's a big pillar also that the system or structure supports our athletes do something else, not just playing ice hockey. Because again, a lot of studies, ice hockey is not early specialized sport. And again, if you are better, we are able to help our athletes to develop their life skills, their other sports skills. They might have a better chances to then play longer careers in this game. Then let's go more closely with the different age groups. So we can go with the under 8 and under 10. So whenever our regional people are going or people are going on ice or coaches are planning the practice, so basically you have a practice, so at least over 80% should be activity over there. If you have if you have 60 minutes ice session, 48 minutes should be at least activity over there. So we let them coaches to maybe speak and organize drills in 12 minutes out of that 60. But again, of course, younger they are, less time you should spend for talking or moving nets on the ice. So the players should be really active when they are doing. Every player should reach 75% of activity. Half of the drills are games or plays and competition, and then at least 50% are having puck touches involved with the kids. So again, they are getting experience with the puck. Promoting that athletes are moving 20 hours a week, not that ice hockey is organized 20 hours a week, but promoting that our players are actually active during the week. And then again, 65% of total volume should be self-directed, so then maximum 35% of that 20 hours would be hockey related. One part why we are promoting these 20-hour rules are and self-direction is that we made a study with our young athletes, so the pillar indicates the whole hours of weekly activities, and the blue one is the hours of organized sport. So we are able to see it that when you increase the blue pillar over there, when you go on the right, the boys are left, girls on the right. When you increase the blue pillar, the total pillar is getting smaller. So even though when we think that we are increasing amount of practice, but the amount of health-related actives, the active time of the week is getting low. Most of the times that we are traveling by cars, so we are not active when we are going to practice, or the active practice are not as intense as we think. So therefore it's really important, it plays really important role for the club, coach, director to understand, okay, what happens if we increase amount of practice? Do we practice 45 minutes a day or 90 minutes a day? So again, how much you're able to help then those families to make sure that the kids they have chances to be active. So that's why we are also promoting this 20-hour rule with our pathway. So some recommendations. So under 8, under 10s, practice 2 to 3 times a week. No need to practice ice hockey more. One practice session, 60 to 90 minutes. In the season, they play 15 to 20 games, so not 100 games, it's 15, 20 games. So there's enough time to practice and do other sports too. Games every other weekend, so not every weekend there's three games. And then it's a maximum of about 8 months of activity for the sport. So those are the recommendations. Those are not policies, those are recommendations. Some of the clubs might go less, some of them might go over, but that's a recommendation that FIHA currently has. Then we go further under 11s, 12s, and 13s. And again, one note that with these age groups, you always have one age group per in the league or in the team. So these would be from that under 11s, under 13s. So these are pretty much the last, or the school system also the grades 4, 5, and 6. And again, similar numbers with the training loads. But then including that also at least 30% of the drills should be including scoring. So again, now we go from more perspective, okay, how do we put the puck in the net? And then again, same thing, 20 hours of week activity, and again, it's still 65% self-directed movement and other sports. So again, that hockey shouldn't take the bigger role than earlier ages. And here are some examples that in these ages what the kids are doing. On the right side, you're able to see ice rink environment. So again, you don't need to have a fancy place. Maybe on the left side, there's a bit of more fancy place to do off-ice training. But a lot of things that could be done wherever, with a pair, without a pair, some small equipments. And that would be like maybe it's not an everyday situation in the hockey rink, but that's the really common way that actually that teams are doing off-ice training. If you want to be a better athlete, if you want to be better on the ice at the end, you should be able to also work with your body. And then if you think about the activity on the ice, just example, smaller game. Coaches are playing a really big role over here, so they determine the environment, they determine the goal, they might change the setup of the game, but again, over here, players have to figure out how to give a pass, who to pass to, how to play defense over there, make a lot of different decisions. And if we would see in the whole practice over there, I think every skater is active over there, so everybody, there's no passive players, or the only passive player is somebody who's waiting to receive a puck. But everybody is involved in the practice, so not only think about in these ages that what is the work-rest ratio, because again, the kids are not yet producing too much lactate acid. And then when we go to recommendations, a bit more training in a week, 3 to 4 times, one practice between 60 and 90, and now the 90 minutes has been lately a bit more common, so then again you have less days of traveling for the practice, so there's more days to be doing some other activities or spending time with the family or making sure that you are able to recover also from the practice. Every third weekend is free of games, so you might play 2 weekends, then 1 weekend is out, and again you play 2 weekends, 1 weekend is out, so there's also weekend time for the families or do those other sports during the season. And then what is playing a role is that every coach should be done level 1 over here, and FIHA level 1 is not just a 1 weekend course, it actually includes 10, 12 different clinics. Single coach no need to do all of those clinics, but really depends on the background of the coach, competition of the coach, or what kind of clinics they should do. And that's planning is done with the club director. Okay, what I should do this season, whether I take this how to coach skills or skating clinic over there. So it really depends what are my needs as a coach. Then when we jump in a Finnish school systems, grades 7, 8, and 9, so we are under 14, under 16. Similar numbers, but again, over 50% activities participation. So now, because again, players are starting to produce some lactate, so we are not anymore asking that 80%, now we are asking at least 50%, and then 40% of it should be somehow related with the game. Still promoting 20 hours a week, so you should be active. But now instead of 65% of the self-directed movement or other sport, now it's 35, understanding that if you are saying that you are practicing already over 3 times a week, so then again, there might be less time in these ages to do some other sport. We still have a lot of athletes who are doing other sports in these ages, but it's getting less and less. So the system should support that the players have chances to do so. And that's what our coaches most likely are also promoting at home. And if you go in the drills, weekly level, how the drills should go, 70% include intensity, 30% include full speed, then 60 about some game-making decisions in the drills, 50% scoring, so we had just had it last year, so we had 30%, now we increase, so there should be more and more scoring involved, and then 40% skill puck touches. And this is something that coaching directors, club, other full-time people, regional coaches, when they go and see the practice, they are tracking these down in the system, the different system monitors, and able to see with the data, are we, or the club or the coaches hitting these numbers. So it's usually that when you go and see the practice, you have a place to mark it down and then see, are we able to, are the Finnish system, are they able to hit it, these goals. And their recommendation again, 3 to 5 sessions in a week, whether you do 2 sessions in a day, but again, or every day once. In this school system, there are a couple of the schools that they're able to promote or provide a morning session. So there actually might be that somebody from the club is working with the athletes before they go to school. So therefore, there's 3 to 5 sessions in the week. Increase amount of games, so 35-50 games during the season, and some of them are league games, some of the exhibition games. So again, but again, maximum would be 50 games in these ages. You should have some free times. Then instead of that minimum 8 months of season time, now it would be 10 months. So basically, you start in August, you finish end of May. So then there's 2 months off over there, doing off-ice training, doing on-ice training, and then at least 50% of the coaches would complete level 2. And level 2 at the moment is actually 3 or 4 on-site sessions, so you're spending 3 or 4 days in location X throughout the year, and that's your level 2. So it takes 12 months for you to take your level 2 in FIHA model. Then when we go for our high school ages, under 17, under 20, so going for the junior ages, again, we want that it's when they practice, it's active. So it's not just listening what the coach is saying, how we should play power play, how we should play PK, or how we should do something else. When they are on the ice, it should be the activity. But again, that now they're getting more and more lactate, so then you, of course, as a coach, you need to also play with that. But at the same time, they should at least have the 20 hours a week active times to if they want to be better athletes at the end. And again, still have that 10% time to have time for self-directed sport or do some other sports over there. So again, the system should support that it's not just, you are not just training when you're coming for a team practice. And then again, weekly level intensity is keep it at 70%, 30% at least full speed, and then 70% include some decision making, reading the game and game-like drills. And here would be again, actually this is a bit older video, but actually he was part of the world champion gold medal team. Oh, are we able to click it? Because there you go. So actually this player, now I think he was here 18 or 19 years old when this was filmed. But again, different core strength that as a coach you might need to teach it, what is important over there. But again, showing drills for the players that they can do by themselves. When you write the program, you provide them information, they will do it by themselves. And he was the fourth line centerman in the gold medal team, so he has been specialized actually a bit on his role playing in Switzerland Pro. But when these were filmed, he wasn't in the national team radar at all. But again, talent for training, talent for being better. So because not all the athletes were coming for shooting and or willing to show the level of there. So again, not ideal yet on those ages, but now it would be fun to see if the person would do the same things again. But few gold medals now, so having a pro career in Europe. And some recommendations over there, and now we went from 35 to 50 games to 40 to 60 games. Still having some free weekdays over here. But again, the goal orientation should be in the mind that I want to be better. I have my goal for next month, next week, or next 5 months. So there's some goal-oriented mindset with the players. And again, for the coaching side, 50% are done at level 3 already. So again, that when they go in the coach are going in the system, also the demands for the clubs that actually the coaches are doing the sections. And now level 3 would be 1.5 years. It takes that kind of cycle to finish your level 3, not full time, but again you're doing well while you're coaching, while you're working. So that's for level 3 in FIHA system. But again, it's not just that somebody's doing by himself or herself, or the club is doing alone. We have to have something else. So this cooperation system between the club has been there, I don't know for how many years, but we call it as an umbrella system, and there's also some different kind of umbrella rules in place. So we have Jokerit in the middle with the Joker hat over there. It's might be one of the famous clubs in Finland. It's in Helsinki. So it's a bigger club, and usually their youth teams are better. They got a lot of players coming in over there. But then in the Helsinki area, they have these three other clubs over here. It's Evu from Vantaa, Oulunkylä in the middle, and then Vuosaarevik in the east part of Helsinki. So they are working actually together. So an idea over here, they have a document agreement over there that how they cooperate in the year. But the basic idea is that the bigger club is not recruiting those players in the region. So they make sure that the players are staying close to their home. Because if they would steal the players from there, they should travel also a bit further away. And again, you cannot really bring all the big fishes in the one bowl, because then eventually you will lose a lot of big fishes. So make sure the kids are able to train at the rink that is closest to your home, because then you don't spend too much traveling in the car. People who are working full-time in Jokerit, they also go and visit with the smaller clubs, educating their coaches, running the drills with the coaches, making sure that those umbrella other clubs, all the clubs have the same competence, at least in theory. So they're providing all the information what has been done in the major club or bigger club also there. But also the bigger club also organizes education at their home, so the other coaches are able to see what's happening over there. So they are basically working together, making sure the umbrella is strong. So because at the end, when you're playing a first time in the nationals, 16s, 17s, 18s, 20s, Jokerit might be able to offer a bit more for the players, so less expensive playing time. They're able to play in better leagues compared to smaller ones. So that at the end, those better players are usually moving over there, which is already natural when you go to high school levels. So that plays a really big role. Not every club is respecting the umbrella system, but most of the time when the umbrella is working really well and the player would like to change the club, they usually have a meeting, what is the reason. Because again, with the FIHA, when you have a youth level, there's a law in place that you cannot really say somebody you cannot go or you cannot take. So kind of like there has to be that flexibility if the league rules accept that. But usually most of the cases, if there's a 10 cases that let's say player from Vikings or would like to go to Jokerit, maybe 1 out of 10 that trade might be done. Reason for other, but 9 out of 10 the players actually stay, because the parents also understand, okay, it doesn't make any sense at this point to go anywhere else. Some special league rules. So basically now if you are an umbrella, you can play in other teams too. So you don't need to make any transfer between the clubs or between the teams. So if in that example the Vikings only have 8 players who are able to play on that Saturday and they need 3 players inside the umbrella, the teams can release. So they make sure that you don't need to cancel the game. But the idea is that you don't get advantage. So let's say if there are 15, Vikings are playing, 1A league and Jokerit is playing AAA league, so the AAA players are not going. So the team should not get advantage of always recruiting that, hey, we need a player, and they always take the best ones. But making sure that they are able to play the game, it's an equal game, so the players are able to actually play inside the umbrella more freely. Whereas if you would go outside of the umbrella, then there should be official transfer. And then in some rare cases, if we go more north part of Finland, where actually the traveling distance are somehow further, or actually in our girls program, girls can play with the boys teams and girls teams at the same time, so they might have a double eligibility to represent for 2 clubs at the same time, because it might be that only that one club in the region has the girls program or girls team. So then instead of them always to go and practice with them, it might be that they're practicing home, playing home, but then when the girls team has a team, they're able to go there, so without any major paper documents to be done. But again, the big goal is that these rules are making sure that everybody, when the Saturday comes and every team is playing, every player is playing. So we don't take anybody out or taking out that chance to play the game, because again, if everybody is, usually they sign up with the hockey to play the games, so we need to make sure that they're playing the games, or the system doesn't kick them out. Here's one example of the coaching alignment. So as we were talking about, you have to have a plan. So Ilves from Tampere. And again, just one slide from the bigger picture, but again, for the coaches to understand that, hey, these are when they are working with under 13s, 15s, we have the sports section, so they're working with endurance, mobility, strength, and speed. And then from the skill-wise, they think about the skating skills, passing skills, 1-against-1, and scoring, and so on. So there's a picture for the coach that, hey, when you're working with this 14 years old, these are the things that you should be working on, because then the next year we take the step more. So again, some sort of plan for the clubs. This is what we accept you as a coach, or we want you to do work on it, and then let's see what is then the result would be. So you have the goal, you have the plan. Make sure that your players are getting better every year in different aspects. But now, again, it's not just that I'm just throwing all the information out. I will ask you to reflect a bit. So even though it's a personal reflection, I'm now referring that you will do a small reflection. So I ask you to take your pen and notebook or some sort of paper in front of you. Whether it's a sticky note or whether it's your own note, you can decide. So now in this 30-40 minutes, informational. Think about what are the 1 to 3 best principles, best practices that was important for you to hear from the presentation, and write it down on your notes. So what were 1, 2, 3 things that, okay, then maybe these for me were somehow the best principles or best thoughts. No right or wrong answer over here, because we are going to be doing personal note taking over here. And again, we want to reflect deeper. Now you have those what. Now let's think about so what. So why those 1 or 2 or 3 things are important to you? Why did you decide to have this? Why? So what? So you had the what first, now with so what. Okay, why these are important for you? Just write it down on your notes. And usually when we do learning, reflection plays a lot of role or a lot of time, and then we should have time to reflect. And if we want to make some changes in the current situation, we should think about now what. So you need to create some sort of plan. So now my reflection or challenge for you is that what are your plans to implement these things in your organization? So now you had the what, then you analyze, so what, why it's important, okay, now what you're going to do with this. When you go home or whenever you're with the organization, so please write it down. What are your plans to implement these things at home, inside your organization? Please write it down on your notes. No right or wrong answers. These are your thoughts at the moment. Thoughts might change in the way, or maybe tomorrow morning or afternoon or Monday or whenever, but it's good to write it down so you have something on your notes that you're able to go back to. And if you want to get more information about FIHA Player Pathway, I'm going to share it with the crew, and then you can. There's an English version online, so you're able to read it. I had a QR code over here, but now because we had to change a couple of times the computers, the QR code is out. But we will share you the links if you want to know something more. So, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Kalle. Some great insight into the Finnish development model, and obviously a lot of expertise in the fruit of their labor. They won the World Championships this year. I don't know if anybody caught any of those games, but to watch the Finns and the Swiss play each other is fantastic hockey. I mean, I text our staff and I'm like, this is the way hockey should be played, the way those two teams played and competed on the ice in the World Championships. To me, I actually text our staff and I said, we could write a book on how-to hockey. For forwards, see Barkov. For D, see Yossi. And then just mic drop, walk away. This is the way those two guys play those positions. To me, they just have so many good habits. The skill level's elite, and then the habits that they learn and the product of their development system. So I just wanted to ask, are there any questions for Kalle? He's leaving first thing in the morning. Yes, sir. Here you go. Hold on 1 second.
The umbrella structure that you spoke about with the clubs like Jokerit and other clubs, so is that at youth level as well, that they do that?
Exactly. That mainly goes from youth all the way up. So maybe in the up, those other teams don't have any more senior teams. So basically, it's pretty much with the youth level how this is organized. So then the pro league might have, so let's say, other teams who are playing the second highest league, but these are actually mainly youth levels.
I do think that the umbrella club concept is one of the most ingenious things going that I've seen in youth hockey around the world, because they support each other instead. And to me, it just reiterates it's a true development process versus a focus on winning at those younger age groups. They support their neighbors. The big club that has the more resources supports their surrounding clubs. Honestly, the only place I've seen that outside of Finland is in Zurich Lions, and the way they've built their structure and their programs with the surrounding clubs. It's just, to me, it's phenomenal. You keep more kids in the game, but you also make sure that all those smaller clubs have a place to play when those kids are young. They don't have to drive so far. Play at your local rink as long as you can, and the clubs actually say, no, you can't come to us, versus that we see around the rest of the world where, you're a good player, why don't you come to our club and come and play for us? Steve.
I was just wondering, at the beginning you said it's broken into 8 regions and there's regional coaches, and you said on the slide they provide support for the club coaches. Can you give some examples of what that support looks like?
It could be that, let's say that now let's use the Jokerit over there, we have meetings in April, May, how do we run the season, and then actually they say, hey, maybe our 12 and 13s would be benefit most from the regional coach, mentoring, supporting, and additional that let's have these 3 educations for our coaches. So it could be as simple as that one, because their time has been thinking about, okay, how they help. Basically, they're working usually, even though I said region is easier, but basically with different umbrellas. So you might have 3 or 4 different umbrellas, and then you create that holistical view over there, because then you have also those club directors in the bigger clubs who are full-time. They might do some of the work, and then there's a skill coaching, kind of like a type of thing that they are more about player pathway coaches, not the skill coaches, but so dividing a bit of the work, so it's using the resources the optimal way.
Kalle, last question. Tell us about, obviously the Finnish Federation is famous for producing goalies. Can you explain a little bit, do they still encourage every team to have a goalie, an adult that minds the goalie?
Correct. So basically whenever you are looking for the coaches for the teams, and usually those are volunteer fathers and mothers, most of the cases when we go all the way under 15, so then we're encouraging having head coach, assistant coach, goalie coaches too, so then educating them for the parents also how to be a goalie coach. So every team most likely, if not every team has it, but most of them have their own goalie coach, and then the goalie coaching education also in the club or inside the umbrella. So they know what to do.
Great. Any other questions before we let them go? Okay, thank you very much, Kalle. Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.